John Breslin with you until past, and we all know the Christmas traditions here at home, and how we enjoy them. And well, I suppose we all have a little twist on them or a little slant on them, but they're all tried and tested. But what about if you had to spend Christmas away from home and far away from home, whether you choose to do it or whether by circumstance you have no choice or little choice in the matter? Such was the situation on 3 occasions for our sports presenter, Mark Gallagher, because he has spent 2 Christmases in China and 1 in Argentina. Mark, where were you at?
That's a good question. I still don't know what I'm at. The Chinese ones, well, I lived in China for 5 years. And then obviously the big C word happened in the middle of it. 2020 COVID hit. I tried to get home, but then in the end up it was actually good.
Oh, that C word.
That C word, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah,
so you couldn't get home.
Well, I tried to get home, and then you know yourself, at the start of COVID there was flights kind of getting cancelled and nobody really knew what was happening. So I ended up biting the bullet, and I said, right, I'll stay now in China. So I ended up staying that year, and then the following year wasn't much different in terms of COVID in China. And like we were still working away, so we were still kind of, we were earning decent money, and we like leaving to go back to Ireland in the state that it was, like during lockdown and stuff, wasn't the best idea. So I ended up staying then a second year after that, and it was 2.5 years that I was away from home without being home, and then I came home in the summer of 2022. So I was in China for Christmas in 2020 and 2021.
So what were you doing in China?
Originally I went over to teach English, and then I kind of landed on my feet. Like I was in a city called Nanning. A wee tiny city in China with 8 million people in it.
Yeah, that's small.
So on the Vietnamese border there, went over, and on the plane over I was thinking, right, I've had a going away party now, so I can't come back within 6 weeks because everybody will laugh at me. But I ended up staying 5 years. I loved it over there. I was there 2.5 years before COVID, then COVID hit, and ended up staying another 2.5 years, and then we left in 2022 with the plan to go travelling in South America.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to South America in just a moment, but first of all,
jumping the gun.
Yeah, first of all, in China, it's a different experience. In the city you were in, what was the weather like? Was it wintry? Was it summery weather? Was it hot? What was it like at this time of the year?
Yeah, the 4 seasons were very definite. So it would get cold in the winter. Now, not cold to freeze, but it would get to between 5 and 10 degrees. And it was cold. I remember coming home. When I left Nanning one Christmas to come home, it was 10 degrees, and when I got here, it was 2 degrees. And for some reason, it didn't feel much colder here than it was there. I don't know, maybe it's the humidity or something that makes it kind of neutral. But yeah, it got pretty cold, and we were scooting about on wee electric mopeds as well, so it was cold to do that in the city I was. But yeah, no, Christmas, do
they celebrate Christmas over there at all?
Well, they wouldn't have in the past, but because China, especially pre-COVID, were making a big effort to like understand and open themselves up to the Western culture a lot more. There was a lot more foreigners in China in the recent years, and I think like the more Western people you have in a culture, the more of them values and festivals and traditions you're going to have. Yeah. So like when I was teaching English, a big part of my job was obviously to try and teach English, but once the likes of Easter, Halloween, Christmas, even Valentine's Day, the parents of the Chinese students that we were teaching really wanted us to teach them about our values and our festivals and our cultures. So like when Christmas would come around, we would be teaching them Christmas songs and all the words associated with Christmas, and we'd have like stuff like Santa Claus there, and teaching them all about that and bringing them gifts, which is really cool. Now it does kind of tie into, everybody's obviously heard of Chinese New Year. That always happens at the beginning of every year, so maybe 3rd, 4th week in January, or definitely early February at the latest. So it was kind of nice. They would celebrate our Christmas with us, and then after Christmas we would celebrate their Chinese New Year and their traditions. So it was a nice time of year.
But the Chinese New Year is much bigger than Christmas in China.
I would say Chinese New Year is a direct comparison to what we do at Christmas here. Okay, they put up, everything turns red and yellow, and it's
like
Happy New Year
in the States.
Something like that. Yeah, I would say Chinese New Year is probably bigger in China than Thanksgiving would be in America. It just it goes just Christmas mode in the malls, and then all of a sudden New Year comes and everything is just red and yellow, and there's Chinese flags up everywhere, and it's just lanterns all lining the streets and stuff, which is a nice thing to experience too.
And what about at Christmas? Is there a tradition in China for exchanging gifts, or do they just sort of to embrace Westerners and do it for them? Is it?
Yeah, I think that's probably more accurate. So obviously, I was there 5 years. We made a lot of Chinese friends, and we'd be going over to Chinese people's houses for meals and stuff, and they would really buy into our values and traditions because when we were over there, we did everything they did on their Chinese New Year. So I think it was a nice cultural bonding. Do you know what I mean? If there's something, it brings you closer as a people if you kind of celebrate each other's cultures, which can be missing, I think, sometimes.
So you're just out of the Christmas, and when no sooner than you're into the Chinese New Year. So it's a full on party for
exactly
about 6 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the first time I went over, 2017, and that's a lot has happened in China with COVID, and there's a lot more foreigners there than there would have been even in 2017. And then if you go back a further 10 years, 2007, I mean, there's probably 100% more foreigners now than there would have been even 20 years ago. But I remember a story. My friend Reno, he's actually married to a Chinese girl now, but she was the boss in the school that I was working in, if you follow.
Yes.
So I remember them two going out and they wanted to come home for Christmas, but this was so new to them, they didn't really understand. So they were like, oh no, you're working, you can't go home. So anyway, long story short, the two boys were like, well, we're either going home for Christmas and coming back, or we're going home for Christmas and not coming back. And I think it was kind of, they started to open themselves up and understand, right, this is a big deal for them, so let's try to open up. And from that, they were so accommodating then. Like, we must have had 20 or 30 Western teachers there at one stage, and they would literally give you the choice. If anybody wants to go home, they can go home for 2 weeks and come back. We'll accommodate you. And it was really nice comparing the start to when I finished. Christmas became such a bigger deal.
Okay, much more of an understanding.
Definitely.
Right. Okay, and in China as well, and they seem to have multiple Valentine's Days.
Yeah.
What's that about?
It's a bad country to have a girlfriend in. Yeah.
Costly one. Yeah.
Yeah. They celebrate our 14th of February one.
Yeah.
And they also, I think they have one in May, the 20th of May, because Wu Erling means 520 in Chinese, and in Chinese, how to say I love you is wo ai ni. So over the years, those two phrases become synonymous with each other, and the Chinese thought that they sounded alike, so they've basically made it a day of love, where the 520, the 20th of the 5th, because the calendar is reversed a wee bit, the 20th of May every year is I love you day, effectively. So another Valentine's Day. I'm nearly sure they have one in the summer as well, and they have a Singles Day then on the 11th of the 11th, so 1111, they call that Singles Day, and there would be offers on for...
A lot of numerical symbolism there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Probably better sticking to the one, are we?
Maybe,
I
yeah.
think so. Okay, from China to South America, and you spent a Christmas in Argentina.
Yeah, so we came home in 2022 with big plans to go travelling. So we first place we went to was Brazil in November and ended up in Argentina. Now, I need to preface this by saying the 19th of December on the year we were there was the date of the World Cup final in Qatar, and Argentina won that, so we were in Buenos Aires. So
For the celebrations.
So
I'd say that was a bit mad.
Yeah, Christmas took a bit of a backseat that year.
Wow.
That was the 19th of December, so
it was full on.
That's yesterday 2 years ago, that was.
Yeah.
But that was like an outer body experience altogether. We were there for
the Messi final.
The Messi final, yeah. We went to a fan zone in the center of in Buenos Aires, and like in the aftermath was quite, I wouldn't say normal. It was mental. It was very hectic, and people were in the streets singing. But I've seen celebrations before, and it was kind of akin to that kind of environment. But that was on a Sunday, I believe. On the Monday, it wasn't a national holiday, but on the Tuesday, which would have been the 21st of December, the government called a national holiday for the homecoming, and that was the day that there were 5 million people on the streets of Buenos Aires, and I just can't explain what that was like. It was.
You were there for the homecoming.
I was there for the homecoming too. Yeah.
Go out and watch them coming down the.
Yeah, so that was the plan.
The World Cup.
They were meant to come out on the bus with the trophy, but they couldn't get through the droves of people, so they ended up taking the players off the bus and putting them in helicopters and flying them over the city instead because they couldn't get through the crowds.
All right.
So yeah.
Okay, so then
anyway, back to Christmas.
Back to Christmas. Yeah. So is Christmas big in South America or in Argentina?
Yeah. We were in Buenos Aires, which is one of the biggest and most populated cities in South America. Spanish speaking, 80-90% Catholics, but we weren't really in Christmas mode when we were there, if you know what I mean. We were in the middle of a 6-month stretch of traveling in South America, plus the World Cup celebrations. So when Christmas Day came, it was kind of like waking up being like, oh,
Oh,
it's Christmas pretty much, yeah.
But what about everybody else?
Yeah, no, everybody else seemed to be a bit more organised than we were. We woke up with, I think we had a potato and a carton of milk in the fridge.
Everybody else knew it was coming.
Yeah, exactly. So we definitely should have done a bit more shopping on Christmas Eve. But I think we were 7 hours behind as well, 6-7 hours. So when my family were having their dinner here, they were calling me in the morning going, "Oh, Merry Christmas, what are you doing?" And I remember going, I have no idea. The streets are deserted. We don't have any food. But I couldn't say that because my mum would have been devastated. But things now, they did open up in the evening and we ended up going out for a nice meal. So yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Okay. And your fiance, to make this truly multicultural, your fiance is from Russia, and I'm sure there's different traditions in Russia.
Yeah, she's over there at the minute, Asya. She's from a city. Do you know where the Ural Mountains is? Kind of separates Europe and Asia.
Yeah.
She's from a city there called Ufa. Now, Christmas there wouldn't be, I suppose, in the current climate, maybe it's even less so, but it wouldn't be celebrated over there really at all. Like the New Year is the big one, and they're Orthodox Christians over there, so their typical Christmas falls on the 7th of January.
Right.
So they don't do anything for Christmas. They have a massive celebration on New Year's, which they have some interesting traditions. And then their big one is on the 7th of January. So that's their Christmas Day, yeah.
So your Christmas Day will be traditional this year?
Yes.
Right here? It'll be all the turkey and the trimmings. And
yeah. I actually came back here last year with Asya, and that was her first experience of Christmas at all. So that was a really interesting perspective as well, to get someone that's never even experienced Christmas anywhere to celebrate a rural Irish Christmas was really special.
Well, she can't have liked it much if she's back in Russia for this one.
She'll be back next year, John.
Right. Well, listen, have a great Christmas and enjoy all the traditions.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me. That's great.
Not at all. Thanks, Mark. Good luck.
Around the Northwest with Virgin Media. Faster.